Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. So, in the new studio, bear with me. I think this will be okay. This will get it done for right now. I'm setting up a podcast studio for Mike Force Podcast. If you're not subbed to the Mike Force channel on YouTube, I'll link it down below. Also, we're available on Spotify or wherever podcasts are found. That's the Mike Force Podcast. If you're a guest, I hope you like sweating because we're going to be sweating together. It's inside of my shop, inside of my garage. So, hey, man. Hey, we're on a budget nowadays. So I wanted to do a recap of this last video that I did. The last video I did was on this peacekeeper shooting that took place at this protest that ended up killing an innocent bystander. Now, it was all very confusing at first. We understand what happened now. So this guy, Gamboa, this dude, Gamboa, looks batty, looks crazy to me. Well, they said both peacekeepers that were on site that winded up engaging this guy, witnesses, and the police said this guy was raising an AR-15 towards the crowd when he was engaged by a peacekeeper who fired 3 rounds. One of those rounds struck Gamboa in the stomach, and I believe one of the rounds winded up killing an innocent protester who was of Samoan descent, just there to protest. I mean, he had nothing to do with anything that was going on, got caught in the crossfire. This brings up a lot of questions. One, who are peacekeepers? Well, I thought they were veteran law enforcement or maybe even law enforcement officers themselves that were moonlighting, that were cooperating with law enforcement agencies by communicating, hey, there's this antagonizer in the protest, and they were trying to keep the peace or something like that, right? Embedded protesters trying to keep the peace. But it's less like that and more basically people, volunteers in road guard vest trying to keep the peace within the protest. Now, what's interesting is this new video that a Fox affiliate got sent that shows everything go down. And it's not what you expect. You're going to be surprised. So right now, I just checked in on this. This is as of today. You have 4 days if you're put in jail before the DA or whoever has to file charges. So it's been 4 days. 4 days in by 3 p.m., if charges aren't filed, they got to let you out. But they can ask for an extension. In this case, the state attorney has asked for an extension. The extension is 3 days. So now we have 3 additional days before they have to file charges against Gamboa. Yeah, Gamboa didn't fire the shot that killed this innocent bystander. But they're saying because of his actions, it got somebody killed. Now, is that good enough for a first-degree murder charge? Your opinion might change after watching this video. I'm going to kick it off right now at 24 seconds in this video, so go ahead and watch this. Okay. So I'm freezing it right there, and you see this Gamboa guy. This Gamboa guy is dressed in black. He has a backpack, and he's moving, and he's going to move offset on the right side of the screen. He's going to move behind a fence. So that's him moving. So all of a sudden, he decides, I'm going to move and get isolated to get out his AR-15. So let's roll it. All right, so he goes behind this fence, and as he's behind this fence, he takes off his backpack, and then as he takes off his backpack, he gets everything primed for this thing he's about to do. Herein lies the issue, guys. All right, so one, he was either getting the AR out to conduct an attack. Now, a lot of people in the comment section were like, I knew these MAGA supporters were going to do something so crazy. It's like, whoa. This guy is a BLM supporter. He's on the team of the protesters. So if he's getting this AR, he wasn't going to engage protesters. He was potentially going to engage law enforcement. Or was he? I mean, was he going to engage anybody at all? Now, what witnesses said was that he lifted the gun up towards the crowd, and that's when they stopped, the peacekeepers did, and started to engage him. They started to shoot at him. Okay, let's keep it rolling. All right, so in this video, you see in the middle, you're going to see a peacekeeper who walks by all in black. He stops. He's got a little vest on, and he gets on his radio right there. We're at 54 seconds in. He gets on his radio and he says, hey, I need backup. Well, backup comes. He's waving over one of his peacekeeper buddies, and as he waves him on the far right of the screen, that's where Gamboa is, getting his AR out. Now, like I said in the last video, they saw him put the gun into battery. What I mean is they saw him get it out and get it prepped. But was he getting it prepped to do an attack? Or was he getting it prepped as like a show of force of like, I'm a guy who's protesting with an AR-15? Guys, you could be overtly carrying in the open, armed with an AR in a protest. That's exercising your constitutional rights. So was he doing that? Well, let's see. Hit play. So we got his buddy who comes over. So now we have two peacekeepers. And then this shows Gamboa behind this fence. Now he's walking towards the crowd with the AR pointed down. And that's the key. Right now he's holding it pointing down. So he walks. And then, okay, this is the point of confrontation. Both these guys draw their pistol. Now look, here's a couple issues with this, guys. And you know, self-defense experts talk about this. I certainly have talked about this before. When you have a firearm and you're overtly carrying it in a protest, for example, you're exercising your constitutional rights. But if somebody perceives you as a potential threat, you could be in harm's way. But holding a firearm slung around you with the barrel pointed at the ground is not a posture and not a direct threat to these gentlemen. So these guys pull their guns, and they're obviously pulling their guns because they think this guy is going to harm somebody. I am certain their intent was to protect the crowd. I'm certain they didn't have any malice intent. They thought he was doing something shady. So let me push play here. That's when they start engaging him. So you see it right here. 3 rounds, one of the guys shoots. Now, I don't know if the other guy shot. I couldn't tell. But for sure, we know 3 rounds were fired. All right. This is a different perspective. Now, this is an important perspective because Fox, the affiliate that got this footage, put these two pieces together. What you see is you see both Gamboa on the right and the upper mid frame, and then you see the other perspective where the two peacekeepers are telling Gamboa to drop the firearm, by the way. The police said that they said that. Now, here, Gamboa has the rifle pointed at the ground. The problem is when they engaged him, the barrel's pointed at the ground, guys. He didn't have the gun up. You could see it right here, clear as day. The gun's pointed at the ground. And then all of a sudden, he starts moving. They said he ran towards the ground with the gun pointed at the crowd. No. They crossed this side by side, timed it. When those peacekeepers started to engage this guy, he started to run, as you would run. So let's roll it out. He's engaging them, and he takes off running. He takes one in the stomach, and you can see it right here in slow-mo. The rifle's down. And then he starts shooting, and then he starts running. Herein lies the problem, guys. This innocent guy right here was killed. Father, husband, friend, fashion icon, and inspiration. The guy who pulled the trigger was the peacekeeper. And it appears that Gamboa, albeit like probably not the smartest thing to bring an AR to a protest, but he's exercising his constitutional right. So to imply that he was running towards the crowd with a firearm and a threat to anybody around him, that could be argued in court. I mean, I suspect the reason why they haven't charged this guy already is because the video clearly lines out that he wasn't going to do that. Now, if he has a manifesto on his person, if he told somebody he was going to do some harm, completely different. And those guys saved a lot of lives. But what you see on the camera is a guy potentially exercising his constitutional right to carry, who's on the side of the protesters, maybe trying to flex on law enforcement, showing that he's got the firearm. And apparently he's a veteran. I just heard that on a news report. It's more complicated than we think. I just covered this on the Mike Force podcast. Counterterrorism organizations that specialize in hostage rescue spend their entire training objectives focused on not killing good guys and rescuing hostages, knowing backstops, focused on accuracy in high-stress situations. This is why it's so important to train, to know your backstops, to understand your capabilities, especially in a crowded area where, for sure, that peacekeeper was trying to do the right thing, but an innocent man was killed, and there's no excuse for that. The article that I read right before I came on to do this show said that the state attorney is potentially looking at charges against the peacekeeper. That's the situation and the risk that you run when you're lawfully protecting and defending yourself, even in the worst case scenario. It's more complicated than just what you do on the flat range. It's why we train. You never rise to the occasion. You fall back to your level of training. And if you don't have training in hostage rescue or high stress situations where you got to take difficult shots, you need to train. I'm headed off to the underground to do the underground episode of this on my Patreon that's more uncensored, talking about topics, including what's going on with Iran and Israel. Guys, I appreciate you. Till next time, peace.